Welcome back to Movies in a Nutshell. Today we're talking about a comedy movie called Bubble Boy from 2001. Jimmy Livingston is born with no immune system, so he's kept in isolation, and everything he touches needs to be decontaminated. Jimmy will have to spend his entire life inside a bubble-like plastic dome. Mrs. Livingston, his mother, is overly protective of Jimmy too. Jimmy wasn't even allowed to come home until he was 4 years old, and Mrs. and Mr. Livingston brought the young boy home in his bubble. Jimmy's room, too, has a large bubble that he can walk around in. His parents can touch him with a pair of protruding hands in the bubble. All his toys are kept inside the bubble, decontaminated and free of even the tiniest germs. Since then, Jimmy has been residing in his room. Mrs. Livingston doesn't want him to leave the bubble, so all the bedtime stories end with the princess dying because they were let out. Because Mrs. Livingston insists they are the only ones ever made, he is only allowed to watch one television channel and read one magazine. She also cuts his hair and hugs her son with her protruding arms. Mrs. Livingston is a staunch nationalist who only teaches Jimmy what she considers reasonable and forces her beliefs on him. Jimmy, however, doesn't know any better and goes along with it. The unique Bubble Boy is well known throughout the city, but this does not work in his favor. Instead, the neighborhood kids wrap themselves in plastic and mock Jimmy outside his house, which Mrs. Livingston frequently chases away. Jimmy only eats home-cooked meals. Mrs. Livingston has placed a decontamination system in a plastic tube where he keeps his food to kill the germs before Jimmy can get it. Jimmy has reached the age of 16. He describes how he grew up like any other kid and how delighted he was to receive an electric guitar instead of a car. One day, Jimmy is looking out the window when he notices Chloe, a new girl who is his age, moving into the neighborhood. Jimmy has grown to like the girl, but is powerless to talk to her. More importantly, he has no experience with love or girls. His mother realizes his attraction and tells Jimmy the story of a boy who died after touching the next-door whore. Jimmy keeps a close eye on Chloe through his windows for the next few years, and she notices he is watching her. He narrates that he knows something is wrong with him, but he is unsure what it is. Jimmy is terrified when he wakes up one morning with an erection. Jimmy hits himself with a bat, cries, and calls his mother, unaware of the concept. Mrs. Livingston enters and forces him to repeat the Pledge of Allegiance until he relaxes. Jimmy is mocked by Chloe's popular friends, who refer to him as the Bubble Boy. She appears to be on the defensive when it comes to him. Chloe knocks on the Livingston's door one day, and Mr. Livingston welcomes her in. She is enthralled by the plastic tubes running throughout the house. She gets to Jimmy's room by following the tube, but Jimmy is cautious. Chloe approaches him and expresses her admiration for his guitar. Jimmy tries to teach her to play the instrument with her protruding hands. In the middle of it, he begins reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. They've been hanging out together every day since that day. Mrs. Livingston dislikes their friendship, but is powerless to stop it. Chloe and Jimmy have spent a lot of time together since then. For Jimmy's birthday, Mrs. Livingston gives him a guinea pig and a ball, and for Halloween, she brings kids into his room. A drunk Chloe sneaks into Jimmy's room through the windows one night on her birthday. She tries to enter the bubble, claiming she can no longer stay away from him. She passes out, however, before she can enter. Chloe's prom night is depicted in the scene. Jimmy is devastated when Chloe's boyfriend Mark arrives to pick her up. Jimmy is offered a cigarette by Mark, but he has no idea what it is. Jimmy notices Mark and Chloe through his windows one night. Chloe walks into Jimmy's room the next day and shows him her engagement ring. Mark had proposed to her, and she had accepted. She has informed Jimmy that their wedding is this weekend at Niagara Falls. Jimmy is dissatisfied, but he doesn't show it. She also brought him a present, which she keeps hidden inside his decontamination tube, but Jimmy dismisses it. Instead, he returns the guinea pig to her and tells her to leave. With tears in her eyes, Chloe walks away. Jimmy later opens the gift and discovers it is a snow globe with the words "I love you" written inside. Surprised, he screams Chloe's name and decides to go to Niagara Falls to end the wedding. Jimmy works tirelessly to create a portable bubble shield and succeeds. Then, without his parents' knowledge, he sneaks out of the house. Jimmy is delighted to run for the first time, so he walks to the bus station and asks for a bus ticket. Jimmy, on the other hand, has forgotten to bring any cash. He tries to cross the road, distressed, when hit by a bus. He flies to the ground but is saved by his bubble. The passengers on the bus emerge and offer him a ride. Jimmy accepts it cheerfully, but he soon discovers that the people are members of a religious cult. They yell at him and throw him off the bus when he points it out. When the cult group finally gets to their destination, The leader of the cult announces that a man who lives inside a globe is the savior of the world. After coming to the conclusion that Jimmy is their savior, the group sets out to locate him in order to free him from the globe. In the meantime, Jimmy makes friends with the biker Slim. Jimmy tells Slim that the woman he loved is now marrying someone else. Slim is impressed, so he shares with Jimmy the story of his former girlfriend, Wildfire, whom he continues to cherish. After that, Slim makes Jimmy an offer to take a ride with him, and the two of them end up going to Niagara Falls together. Mrs. Livingston is alarmed when she discovers Jimmy is missing at home. Mrs. Livingston and her husband set out to find Jimmy because the police would not do so until 24 hours had passed since he had vanished. On the other hand, Slim and Jimmy arrive in Vegas and take a break. They have a great time at the casino, but Jimmy only has 2 days to prepare for the wedding. As a result, he abandons Slim at the club, steals a scooter, and flees on it. After a short distance, Jimmy comes across his parents' car, which attempts to stop him from fleeing. Jimmy causes an accident because he is in a hurry. His bubble, thankfully, bounces him into a running train. He manages to flee his mother, but he is now stranded on a train with freak show performers. Dr. Freak, the Freak's boss, keeps them imprisoned and uses them in his freak show, the Freaks tell him. Jimmy meets Dr. Freak, a short man, but Jimmy accidentally knocks the man to the ground, freeing the other freaks. After that, Jimmy continues on his journey to Niagara Falls. He can no longer ride a scooter, so he goes to a restaurant and asks for a ride. A group of police officers bullies a man named Pushpop there. They assume Jimmy has a contagious disease when he tells them he has no immunity and flees the scene. During the chaos, the restaurant catches fire and Pushpop offers Jimmy a ride. In addition, he agrees to take him to Niagara Falls. Mrs. Livingston contacts Dr. Freak, who informs her that Jimmy is leaving for Niagara Falls. She confronts Chloe, yelling at her for causing Jimmy to flee. Outside, the Freaks steal her car as she speaks with Dr. Freak. Pushpop and Jimmy come across a cow that is standing in the middle of the road while they are traveling. Pushpop is upset because cows are a symbol of God in his religion, but Jimmy, taking his mother's advice, tells Pushpop that his religion is not true. This causes Pushpop to feel insulted, and as a result, he abandons Jimmy. Jimmy is still successful in his journey and arrives in New York, where he approaches an elderly man named Pippi and requests a ride, which the latter gladly provides for him. When Jimmy wakes up the following morning, the same man is still behind the wheel of the vehicle. After Jimmy discovers that Pippi has passed away, he causes an accident by driving into a billboard with the car. Jimmy enters a grocery store and dials Chloe's number. Unfortunately, Mark answers the phone and tells Jimmy to hang up because he is getting married to Chloe in an hour. Jimmy calls his mother and asks her to come to pick him up because he is now hopeless. Both Jimmy's parents arrive at his house and help him into the car. Mr. Livingston asks Jimmy how it feels to be outside for the first time as Mrs. Livingston goes to the restroom. Mr. Livingston advises Jimmy not to give up without a fight. Jimmy runs to stop the wedding after hearing his words. Mrs. Livingston notices this and drives after him. At the same time, the cult group tracks Jimmy down and begins following him. Slim arrives with his biker friends to help Jimmy as well. Mrs. Livingston, who happens to be his old love Wildfire, locks eyes with Slim. They're all driving on a plane's runway, it turns out. Jimmy boards a plane alongside a seasoned pilot in his later years. The plane takes off to travel to Niagara Falls, but it ends up crashing, which results in Jimmy being thrown into the falls. Thankfully, his bubble prevents him from sinking beneath the water. After climbing out of the water, he makes his way to Chloe and Mark's wedding as quickly as possible. While Chloe and Mark are in the process of exchanging their vows in the chapel, Jimmy walks in and professes his love for Chloe. Jimmy puts his life in danger by bursting the seal on his bubble in order to kiss Chloe as a declaration of his love. However, Jimmy passes out not long after that. While Chloe is attempting to wake him up, Mr. and Mrs. Livingston arrive. Mrs. Livingston is inconsolable over the loss of her son when Mr. Livingston asks her to be brave and tell the truth in front of everyone. After Mrs. Livingston reveals that Jimmy is actually in excellent physical condition, he abruptly comes to consciousness. It was revealed that Mrs. Livingston had lied to him for all of these years in order to protect him from the dangers that exist in the world. Jimmy is shocked, but he is able to forgive his mother after learning that she did what she did in order to keep him safe. As the crowd cheers, he gives Chloe his long-awaited hug. A few months later, Chloe and Jimmy have decided to get married. Everyone he came into contact with on his journey is going to the wedding. Also, a romantic relationship has developed between Slim, Mr. Livingston, and Mrs. Livingston. At the conclusion of the movie, Jimmy and Chloe get in their car and head off on their honeymoon. I hope you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, turn on that notification bell so you don't miss other videos from Movies in a Nutshell.